Now this video is all about choosing a good camo for shit hits the fan, and I have here two of my favourite types of camo, and they also work very differently, so hopefully this should give you some insight into some of the sort of theories behind camouflage. But what I'll stress first of all is you obviously need to pick a camouflage that looks good in your environment, because I'm in a mostly woodland area or in a lot of fields. Flecton, which is the camo on the left, works very well, but obviously if you're in the desert or somewhere or a very arid landscape, Flecton might not be anywhere near as good and might make you stand out. Okay, so why is camouflage important? Well, let's say you're in some sort of scenario where there are people trying to kill you. You obviously want to make it as hard for them to notice you as possible. And camouflage, along with moving properly and not making yourself an obvious target, means that you'd be harder to see and therefore harder to kill. So that works to your advantage. However, when you're choosing a camouflage for sort of a collapse type scenario, you probably don't want to be using what the military in your country currently uses or has used recently. Because I have some Woodland 95 DPM, which the British Army uses or did use or still uses, whatever, they haven't phased it out properly. But the problem with using that is if the military are trying to get you in this sort of scenario, or if they're just not very popular with a lot of people, you might catch a bullet either way by wearing a military camouflage. Like your military's camouflage. So, on the left we have German Flecton, and this is essentially a woodland type camo, but it uses spots rather than sort of stripes or patches, splodges, whatever you want to call them. And Flecton came about during World War II. The name Flecton literally means spot camo, and it was sort of a late war Nazi camouflage, but it was a slightly different colour to this. It was mostly shades of green. And the idea of Flecton is that the dots are harder for the eye to register properly, but how they actually work as a disruptive element is they give it almost a 3D effect. So when you see Flecton from a distance, it looks like you're looking through sort of shrubbery, and the darker patches are shades through the shrubbery, so it makes you look essentially more 3D in a sense, so it's harder to see than it would like you're wearing a flat piece of camouflage. And on the right we have East German Stricktarn, which means stripe camo basically, line camo, and this is a raindrop style camo. And essentially this works that it's not good for one specific theatre, but the colour it's made out of means that it blends very well with any environment. And what I mean by that is that say you're wearing this in woodland, if there's a lot of light that's sort of green because of it's coming through leaves, it will make the camouflage appear a lot greener, where if you're using it in a field that's mostly yellow, it will look a lot yellower. And it's normally a kind of brown, very pale green colour, so it's hard to work out what the colour is on its own, but that's essentially how strict tarn works. So the reason I like it is that if you're not sure of what theatre you're going into, it works pretty well for it, and also works very well in urban sort of areas, because it will blend very well with different shades of concrete, brick and everything. And it also reacts very well to light, so if you're wearing this in dark areas, it blends in a hell of a lot better than something like Flecton would, because it actually makes you almost impossible to see in some dark areas where sort of wearing normal clothes you'd show up. One of the disadvantages of it though is being so specific, it doesn't actually blend so well, in the sense that you look like a humanoid shape, which makes you easier for the eye to register. And also, although it has a stripe pattern on it, the further you get away from it, the more it looks just like one colour and not actually a stripe, actual disruptive element, whereas the Flecton always looks spotty from quite a distance. When I've tested Flecton and Stricktarn, they've both worked quite well. Stricktarn works pretty much well everywhere and looked exceptional in some areas. and Flecton was in woodland quite good everywhere, and then there was some areas where it was really hard to even see where I was after we looked at the photos, and I can pop some of these into the video. So yeah, basically what you want in a camo is go to your local area that you might be, operating in, take some photos, work out what sort of colour shades are there. You have to work out how to not be an obvious target, because obviously walking around, even if you're wearing really good camo, will make you obvious, so you have to learn how to sort of sit in bushes properly and break up your silhouette. And then choose a camo that works well for you. If you think you might be moving around a lot, you'll want something like strict tarn that would work pretty much everywhere, but not necessarily well everywhere. And if you're in a very woodlandy type one, you might want woodland DPM or Flecton or whatever. And if you're in, say, an arid one, you might want to look into a desert Flecton or a desert type camo. Well, I hope that's been interesting for everyone, and I hope it gives you some ideas about choosing a camouflage. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comments and I'd be happy to answer them, or maybe do a new video on them. Okay, thanks for watching, and if you like my videos, check out my other videos. Thank you.